Sin collega è all'elenco. Okay, we are going to the final part. I'm going to talk briefly about the product one, and then we're going to do this group formation dynamic thing. We're going to have a little bit of time for that. Okay? So that's basically product one. You're going to do an analysis of know-how master plan. Okay? And you're going to deliver, in fact, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry about that. But the introduction, you need to have a very, we don't want to have very long texts. So short texts and images and maps. It's also very important that you use your own pictures. That's why we're going there. So that's also very important that you plan yourselves today and tomorrow in your group. What pictures you want to take, what kind of data you want to gather in the site. And together with that, of course, you can do some research on the internet. So, a small introduction about know-how. Talk a little bit about the figures. You know, when know-how was established, what is the expectation in terms of dwellings and dwellers, all kind of figures that you think are relevant for that project, okay? And also point out what are the major goals of know-how. We talk a little bit about that here on class, and those slides going to be uploaded, and you also can do your own research about that. And a little bit of the historic background. Here we are talking about again, not very long texts, okay? It's a short introduction, but that you talk about those 3 points. Again, you have one week to do that. So it's a brief introduction, but you should mention that so we know that you know what you're talking about, okay? And of course, I don't need to say that, it's not a copy and paste. You should put that in your own words. And for example, in the historic background, if you want to use a picture, you can make a reference of that picture. Okay. For example, the pictures that I use here from the Kobe website. Okay. The second product is to pick one of those characteristics of the DEND. You choose one, mobility, for example, whatever you want, and then you're going to talk about that in relation to the master plan. If you're going to talk, for example, about mobility, during the visit, you're going to see how is to walk around that place, how is my experience walking there, plus how is the accessibility to that site, are there mass transit system or not, and then of course you can also get some maps or make yourself some maps with the offer of public transport. The third point is to analyze the master plan based on the 5 major strategies that I showed you in the class. It's the 5-minute city, the urban green, the urban blue, retrofitting old and new, and intelligent city, mixed-use islands. So during the visit, can you experience that? Can you see that? For example, when you talk about 5-minute city, does that work in know-how? Is something that you can see there or not? Again, there is a subjective dimension also on that. So it's your own experience during your visit, how you experience that. When you talk about the urban green, urban blue, can you identify that there? How much is that really integrated or not on the urban planning and the experience of the pedestrian? Okay? And the retrofitting of old and new buildings, it's also your own choice. For example, the German embassy. You can take one building and you can talk a little bit about that building. What was before? How was the retrofitting? What is the story behind that? What is the concept of that? Okay. And then the fourth point, it's not three, fourth, you're going to do a Yangel analysis of one streetscape. Do you know what is a streetscape? Make a guess.
Like landscape in the city?
Exactly. Yeah. You can talk. You have this traditional concept of landscape. There is something called also landscape architecture, landscape engineer. But urban planners, they imported that concept for their own work. So there is something called a cityscape, another thing called a roofscape, and another thing called a streetscape. So when you are walking through a street, you have that streetscape, how that works. And that's what I'm going to show you now, this Yangel analysis. It's very simple, okay? So let's come back. So the TKNV, you have here the link. You just need to pick one of those dots and make the analysis based on one of those. That's it. And then we go to the Yangel. Yangel, the guy from Struyt and Wall Street. So he has this, and that's in Danish, he has this byplanlægning. Sorry, you can help me with my Danish. I think I'm going to be a little bit back because I can't read from here. These principles, they are very much in the small scale. If you think about urban planning, there is also something called a small scale, medium scale, and large scale. The small scale is the scale of the square, the scale of the street, okay? The medium scale is the scale of a district, and the large scale is the scale of the city. And Yangel, he works a lot with the small scale, the street, and the life on the street, and